I'm Dr. Betsy Greenleaf here with another episode of Body, Mind, Spirit. In the fact that it is February, we're going to be concentrating on love and relationships. And who better to have with us is the leading authority on couples therapy, Dr. Sarah Rattray. She's also the CEO and founder of Couples Communication Institute. Thank you, Dr. Sarah, for being with us today.
It's a pleasure, Betsy. Thank you so much.
How did you end up getting into couples therapy?
Well, when I was in school, when I was a kid in high school, it was challenging for me to make friends. And when I went to college, I took a really popular freshman psychology class, Psych 101. And what interested me the most was what makes people like each other. And so I started taking class after class in psychology and just was fascinated and even did a little bit of undergraduate research on what makes people like each other, what makes people get along with each other. And at the same time in psychology, I was learning about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And that just really grabbed me. And that is a theory that if your basic needs are not being met, you can't move up to more advanced levels of need. So the most basic need is things like food and shelter. So if you don't have food and shelter, you can't attend successfully to more advanced things. And at the very top of the pyramid is what's called self-actualization, which to me just means being the best person that you can possibly be. And so when I launched my career, I went to graduate school, and then in my career, I've been focusing on couples and what helps them to get along. And at the same time, bringing in sort of that concept of self-actualization, the relationship actualization, what makes us be the best partnership that we can be. And that has just been my passion for 30 years.
And I was thinking about it. Sometimes it's so easy to fall in love, but then we get in these relationships and you see it all the time. You see relationships falling apart, you see marriages ending in divorce, those rates are going up. So what is happening? That's why we're seeing this so much.
Just one simple factor, I think, is most of us don't have good role models of what you need to do to maintain a really strong relationship. And I think, as we all know, we expect that it's going to be magical. And since I love this person, since I fell in love, that must be enough. That must be enough to carry us through. And combined with that, maybe the fear that if we have to work on it, that maybe that means we weren't meant to be. And as I said, putting that together with actually not even knowing what to do, I think it all just falls apart. And then, you know what? One other thing is the unending busyness, the unending urgency of everything that we have to pay attention to, and our partner slowly, gradually becomes less and less and less of a priority.
And I have to say, I've experienced that myself because of just two busy careers. We're like two ships passing in the night. And there have been times when we're like, one's coming home, one's leaving, and you're like, hey, I know you. You must be my roommate, because
yes,
you don't see each other. So communication, let alone you got to actually be in the same place to be communicating. So
absolutely.
What if somebody wants to build a stronger relationship, where do they even start?
Well, you know what, Betsy, let's start with what you just said. The two ships passing in the night, that kind of don't I know you type of a thing. What we do is we prioritize what's most urgent. And I don't necessarily want to say take for granted, but we assume that our partner and our relationship will be there waiting for us when we have time. And I want to flip that on its head. I want us to treat our partner like they're the most important person in our life, that we want to show them that we care about them more than everything else, that we treat them better than everyone else. Quick example, you're going to talk really politely to the clerk at the bank or the person in the store or your teacher or the police officer. You're going to talk to them politely, but then you can't come home and you say to your partner, could you leave me alone? I just need to be myself. And we want to take the best care of our partner. And I think what we have to do, and I'll bring up the events of 2020, but I think what we have to do is really remind ourselves in the front of our mind how important the relationship is, our partner is, and that we truly wish to invest the time and energy into each other.
Going back, bringing up 2020, I saw one of two things, and I'm sure you saw a lot more than I saw, but with relationships, I saw it either brought people together or it tore them apart, because you were now like either forced to be with somebody all day long in quarantine that you may not have been around before, and you really had to kind of face whatever things were going on in the relationship. I know for myself, it actually worked out because I got to spend a lot more time with my husband, and I was like, wow, this is great. I really like you.
I really like you.
And now so I remember that I like you. So, nice. Yeah. What kind of things did you see during that time?
Well, I absolutely saw that, and I can speak to that a little bit more, but a powerful factor, and really sad to say, is the incredible amount of death in 2020. And looking around, not just at our partners, but at all of our loved ones, I think so many of us had the sobering realization that literally I or anyone I love could just die.
Yeah.
I could get sick and just die. And of course, all of us know our mortality more or less. We've all said, well, we could be hit by a bus, but this was, 300,000 plus people on the bus.
Yeah.
And when you can helpfully use that filter and say, okay, wait a minute, really, if my partner got sick and died this week, what would I regret? How would I have wanted to have treated my partner? What would we have wished that we had done with each other in this lifetime? And I think for many couples, and not all couples, but many couples, that really put the motivational spin on, oh, yes, I really want to let my partner see how much I love them. I don't want to just say, I'll tell you, in 3 years when I'm a little less busy.
That's a great point. That is a great point. Are there like standard steps that you have couples go through to try to build their relationship?
Yeah. So some things that I would love to share with you are that, let's just start with some real basics. When you want to have a conversation with your partner, get their attention in a nice way.
Not like, hey, you.
Not exactly like, hey, you, and especially, hey, you from the next room.
Yeah.
So if you're in some other room and all of a sudden I think of you, hey, Betsy, like, no, I don't know what you're doing. So if I want to talk to you, right? We all do that. If I want to talk to you, Betsy, I want to get up and walk to the room where you are. I want to look at you and I want to see, what is Betsy doing? If I see Betsy's furiously typing away, or something, I'm not going to talk to you. I'm going to wait. If it looks like you could be interruptible, I'm going to say your name really nicely. So I'm going to say, like, hey, Betsy, and I'm going to wait. If you say, yes, Sarah, then I'm going to say, do you have a minute? So that's how I want to really encourage people to start approaching each other. The reason is when we feel, I'm going to start big, when we feel threatened, when we feel a sense of danger, our body starts heading into fight or flight to protect us. But even though like threat and danger are big, there are things that are similar, like being startled, being surprised, being out of control. And, if I'm working away and, Betsy, you say to me from the other room, hey, Sarah, all of a sudden I'm like, I'm startled. I'm surprised. I'm irritated. I was working. I was focusing. You just called me and interrupted me. Now I'm irritated. Let's not approach each other in a way that irritates each other or startles each other. Let's approach each other in a way that we each feel safe and calm. So, I go in the room where you are. I look at you. You look like you could be interrupted. Hey, Betsy. And, maybe you say, yes, Sarah. I say, do you have a minute? Now the door is open and we're both feeling good. If you can't talk, a perfect thing for you to say to me is, I would love to talk to you, Sarah. Could you give me, 10 minutes to wrap this up? Could we do this at dinner time tonight? Something like that. Then I feel, connected and safe and warm with you. And I understand it's not a good time. You have every right to set your boundary and let me know it's not a good time. And then just real quickly, I talk about this in great depth when I teach about this, but you want to be prepared with only one thing that you want to talk about at a time. Don't bring.
I'm laughing because I have brought the laundry list.
Yes, because we think this is the time I'm going to say it all. Choose one thing. Say how you feel about it. And what you're going to prepare in advance is something you appreciate about your partner that you're going to start out with, and then you're going to make a request. So what I would love to do is dive into the appreciation piece. So let's do that.
So that's great. And we'll do that right after we come back from the commercial break.
Happy Living here. I love good things made by good people. That's why I love Third Rock Essentials, a company founded by a surfer with a PhD that believes all personal care products should be so safe you can eat them. I drink an ounce of chelated silver oxide supplement every day to strengthen my immune system. Third Rock Essentials has all natural sun care, skin care, and silver supplement products I trust. Check them out at happyliving.com and select Partners in Happy. You'll save 20% off all purchases every time you buy using promo code HAPPYLIVING. Plus, for every order placed during the month of February, I'll donate 20% to WITV7.
This is Dr. Betsy, and we are back with Dr. Sarah Rattray discussing couples communication. So before the break, Dr. Sarah, you were talking about getting into some of the techniques of appreciation. So how do we do that with our partners?
Yeah. So what I was starting to say was when you're looking for your partner to get their attention, you want to do it in a safe way. Now, if you want to bring up something that you want to talk about, you want to bring that up in a way that you feel safe and connected, in a way that's not threatening. So let's say I want to talk to you. Let's say I want to talk to you, Betsy, about a podcast that you and I are going to collaborate on, and I have some ideas I want to share with you. I want to think about the last time you and I had an important conversation that went really well. And I'm going to want to think about, what do I appreciate about you? And that's what I'm going to start with. That's the first thing that I'm going to say. So I've already thought in my mind about what's the one thing I want to talk about and how I feel about it. But what I'm going to say to you first, after I get your attention, is something I appreciate about you. So, let's say I say, hey, Betsy. And you say, yes, Sarah. And
yes,
I say,
Sarah.
you have a second. Yeah. I want to say, Betsy, remember when we were talking about, building our businesses together, last month? I really appreciated how much fun we had together. I felt really supported by you. I felt like you heard my concerns and you really added some insight. And that was such a great conversation. So I'm sharing with you something that actually happened between you and I, and some details and what it was I appreciated. So I might say, Betsy, I appreciated how supportive you were, or I appreciate how much value you added, or I appreciate what a good listener you were, or I appreciate how much fun we had together. Then I'm going to bring up what I want to talk about. And Betsy, this is really important. I'm moving over to the side for a minute to talk about an overarching principle, an overarching concept to take into the rest of this year. Every moment that we have with our loved ones is an opportunity to get closer and more connected, or an opportunity to push each other farther away. So in the way that I get your attention, that's an opportunity to get closer and show that I respect you. In the way that I let you know that I appreciate you, that's an opportunity to get closer. Yes, I want to talk to you about something. That's the content. Yeah, but the point is, every time I talk with you, Betsy, can we get closer? So when you're talking about body, mind, and spirit, the spirit of always getting closer to each other through the way we treat each other is of the utmost importance. And I think that's part of the glue that keeps a strong relationship together. So getting back to the conversation, I start out by getting your attention in a nice way. Then I let you know that I appreciate you. And, now you're feeling good with me. Oh, I want to talk with Sarah, rather than, do I have to? Can I avoid this? Then after I let you know what I appreciate, I'm going to say, let's say, we have this podcast coming up together, and I'm feeling like, I need to let you know I'm feeling nervous, or I'm feeling excited, or I'm feeling confused. So I know how I'm feeling and you know how I'm feeling. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a request. Listen to this request, to have a conversation about it. I'm not diving right into it. I'm not going to say, we have this podcast coming up and I'm feeling nervous. So can we, tell me blah, 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 blah. You might not be ready for this. So I'm going to say, can we talk about it? And then together, you and I will find a time that works for both of us, that feels safe, where our energy is good. We won't be interrupted. Where we can fit it in, and a place where we feel comfortable, not a room in our house where we're always fighting with each other. Then we're going to make an appointment and make a reminder. If we say, let's do it tomorrow, we'll make a reminder, and then we'll talk. And I want to keep going and share the next piece of this. But what I'm trying to show you is, even setting up a conversation when we're both feeling safe and we're both feeling in control and we know what to expect, it keeps us calmer and more relaxed.
I'm thinking, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm thinking about these skills are not just with our partners, but I'm like, oh my goodness, I could use this with my kids or my coworkers. So it's all about relationships too.
Yeah. So now, you're absolutely right. We can use these skills with anybody. A difference with your partner ideally, that you'll sit down and you'll share with your partner, you know what I heard today? I was listening to the podcast and I heard these interesting, ideas, these steps. Let's try this together.
Yeah.
It's harder to do that with some people. You can always be the leader. You can always be the leader and set things up in as safe a way as possible with whoever you're talking about. But it's even better and stronger when you and your partner say, yeah, let's try this together. Let's both learn about this some more. Let's both make an effort and help each other to get better at this.
Bringing that up, so if somebody's listening to this and they're like, yeah, I get it, I want to try it with my partner, what is your advice if they go to their partner and they go through these steps and their partner kind of looks at them like they're crazy and like, forget about it, or I don't have time, or what are you doing? Like, this might be like an out of the ordinary kind of behavior because they're so used to that person like bombarding them with things.
It is out of the ordinary. It's going to be out of the ordinary. And when I was saying about, think about what is the one thing you wanted to talk about, anticipating your partner's objection or confusion, dial it back in your mind. What can you say? What's a basic thing you can say to your partner? Maybe do you want to bring up the way you've been thinking about death more because of last year and that you want to work to getting closer? Or, maybe you bring up some distance that you've both, actually noticed out loud together. And then when you talk about the appreciation, when you're thinking about something about your partner that you appreciate, remember a time where you felt close, where you had a good conversation, and say something like, Betsy, do you remember that time like 3 years ago, we went on vacation together? And do you remember that evening that we were sitting on the beach and we had the best conversation? I remember how close I felt to you, how happy I was to be with you. I remember that feeling of connection with you. And when I share that kind of appreciation, then I can say, I want to feel that again, or I want to feel more of that. How about you? So that's where you can start. So if your partner's like, no, I don't want to feel that, that's serious. But if your partner's like, yeah, I like it when we're close too, that's an in, and have you, if your partner says, I want to be closer too, you can ask, is this something that you'd like to have happen between the two of us? Would you like the two of us to grow closer? And then you start building back up towards that question of, can we try these steps or ideas that I heard about on the podcast? Because to just dive into that, again, it's startling, it's surprising, it's almost threatening.
Because I noticed that sometimes with my husband and I, especially when we were like on the go constantly, it's like we did get into that automatic like defensiveness. And then really, I feel bad. It was mostly on my part. Like he'd say something to me and I'd be like, what? Like, what do you want now? Like, and there was this automatic defensiveness before I even heard what was being said. So I think that
is so common.
Yeah.
So common. And one of the things that we do with the people we're closest to is we shortcut, like we're trying to check things off the list as fast as we possibly can so we can get out the door and go to work. So, like, did you take out the garbage? Like, just because like it has to go out and it's garbage day and we're not taking the time. And so, there's just this defensiveness, it's so very common.
But it's interesting because I've actually talked to you about this before, and I have done your techniques, and it really made communication so much better. And I was like, wow, this is actually easier than I thought.
Oh, I love hearing that, Betsy. That's wonderful.
It has been wonderful, especially also just like going like, okay, let's set some time to be with each other instead of this go, go, go. And I said, the one nice thing about coronavirus was the fact that we got to spend more time together and that we didn't have to be running off anywhere because there was no place to go.
Yes. Yes.
So, I want to ask you, where can people find more information about you?
My website is couplescommunicationinstitute.com. And I am dedicated to helping especially disconnected couples to rekindle their relationship with healthy relationship communication, with loving, effective, connected communication.
Out of curiosity, if somebody wants to work with you, what does that typically look like? Is it something that do you have to be in person? Can that be done through like Zoom, like telecommunication, or what does that usually look like?
Another byproduct of 2020. I was really dedicated to building an online set of programs for couples, but when March 2020 came along and the state that I'm in, the governor shut everything down, I stopped seeing couples. So I have not seen couples in private practice for about a year. And instead, I've been building online programs for couples where you can work with your partner in the comfort of your own home, not therapy, where you can learn these tools and get a bigger understanding of the motivation between you and your partner. Why is it important that you actually want to work on your relationship, where you want to take and make the time together to get closer? So, depending on exactly when this airs, Betsy, if people just go to couplescommunicationinstitute.com, you'll see what I have available at the time. And for sure, I do have a quiz there that you can take to learn about the state of communication in your relationship.
That's great. And that actually gives an opportunity to help so many more people, because by doing it in that online forum, you can reach and help so many more people. That is absolutely amazing. So
that's what I've been working on for a couple of years is, private practice, there's very few numbers of couples I can see. And after 30 years of working people, I was saying like, I really see this now. I see the big picture. I really know how to make lasting transformational change for couples, and I need to reach way more people.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for all the work that you're doing and for taking the time to talk with us today.
It's been a pleasure, Betsy, and always fun talking with you.
I also want to remind people that if you enjoyed the programming today on Body, Mind, Spirit, then take the time to go to wytv7.org and feel free to donate. Also, if you want to find more information, you can go to drbetsygreenleaf.com and follow me on social media. Dr. Sarah, are you on social media also?
Yes. My handle, if you want to call it that, is Dr. Sarah Rattray on Facebook, Instagram, a little bit of Twitter, and LinkedIn, and probably more by the time this airs.
Yeah, great. Well, once again, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me, Betsy, and I look forward to next time.
Great. And we'll see you again in a week on next episode of Body, Mind, Spirit.